The day Earth made first contact with an advanced alien civilization should have been humanity's greatest triumph. Instead, it became a humbling experience that would reshape the course of human history. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, Earth's most advanced starship, as it approached the massive Zephyrian vessel. The alien ship dwarfed the horizon, its sleek, crystalline structure gleaming against the backdrop of stars. Sarah's heart raced with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Open a communication channel," she ordered, her voice steady despite her nerves. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that seemed more energy than matter. The Zephyrian's form shimmered with iridescent colors, its features fluid and ever-changing. "Greetings," Sarah said, trying to keep the awe from her voice. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Spaceship Horizon. We come in peace and friendship." The Zephyrian's response came not in words, but in a burst of telepathic communication that flooded Sarah's mind. Images, emotions, and concepts swirled through her consciousness, leaving her momentarily disoriented. As Sarah and her crew struggled to process this new form of communication, they became aware of a growing sense of amusement emanating from the Zephyrians. It wasn't long before they understood the source of the aliens' mirth. "They're laughing at us," Lieutenant Jackson said incredulously, his face flushing with indignation. Sarah frowned, concentrating on the stream of information. "They find our technology primitive," she translated. "They're surprised we managed interstellar travel at all." The Zephyrians continued their telepathic barrage, their amusement tinged with condescension. They marveled at the humans' reliance on physical controls and interfaces, at their clumsy, gravity-bound bodies, and at the comparative slowness of their thought processes. "Well, that's just rude," Dr. Emily Sato, the ship's xenobiologist, muttered. "We may not be as advanced, but we've accomplished a lot for our age as a species." Sarah held up a hand, silencing her crew's grumbling. "Let's not forget why we're here," she said firmly. "Our mission is to establish peaceful contact and learn from other civilizations, even if they're less than impressed with us." Over the next few days, the crew of the Horizon engaged in a crash course on Zephyrian culture and technology. The aliens, while dismissive, seemed content to show off their advanced capabilities. They demonstrated faster-than-light travel that made the Horizon's engines look like a child's toy, and effortlessly manipulated matter and energy in ways that defied human understanding. Sarah watched her crew's reactions carefully. Some, like Dr. Sato, were enthralled by the wealth of new knowledge. Others, like Lieutenant Jackson, bristled at the Zephyrians' constant belittling of human achievements. "Captain," Jackson said during a private moment, "how long are we going to put up with this? They treat us like we're barely sentient." Sarah sighed, running a hand through her short black hair. "I know it's frustrating, Lieutenant, but think of what we can learn from them. This is bigger than our pride." As if to test that resolve, the Zephyrians invited a delegation from the Horizon to tour their ship. Sarah selected a small team, including herself, Dr. Sato, and, against her better judgment, the hot-headed Lieutenant Jackson. The interior of the Zephyrian vessel was a marvel of bioengineering. Living walls pulsed with energy, and gravity shifted fluidly to accommodate the Zephyrians' movements. Sarah and her team floated awkwardly, their bodies unused to the constant changes. Their Zephyrian guide, a being who had taken to calling itself Lumina, led them through a series of chambers, each more wondrous than the last. In one room, they witnessed the creation of a small star contained within a shimmering force field. "This is incredible," Dr. Sato breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. Lumina's form rippled with what Sarah had come to recognize as amusement. A simple parlor trick, it communicated. Something our younglings learned for entertainment. Lieutenant Jackson clenched his fists but remained silent. As they moved into another chamber, alarms suddenly blared. The walls pulsed with urgent patterns of light, and Zephyrians rushed past them in a flurry of motion. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, instinctively reaching for a weapon she hadn't been allowed to bring. Luminous form flickered with concern. A critical failure in our ship's power core, it communicated. Highly unusual. We must evacuate this section immediately. As they rushed towards an evacuation point, Sarah noticed something odd. The Zephyrians, usually so graceful, were struggling. Their energy forms wavered and distorted, and some seemed to have difficulty moving. The power fluctuations, Dr. Sato said, her scientific mind quickly grasping the situation. They're affecting the Zephyrians' ability to maintain their form. Sarah made a split-second decision. We need to help them, she said, already moving towards a group of distressed Zephyrians. Captain, Jackson protested, they wouldn't lift a finger for us if the situation was reversed. That's not who we are, Sarah shot back. Now help me. Using their solid, gravity-adapted bodies, the humans began assisting the weakened Zephyrians. Sarah and Jackson supported energy beings that were barely holding their form, while Dr. Sato worked with the more coherent Zephyrians to understand the nature of the crisis. As they neared the evacuation point, a violent tremor shook the ship. A section of the living wall collapsed, threatening to crush a group of Zephyrians. Without hesitation, Lieutenant Jackson threw himself forward, using his body as a shield to protect the alien beings. The danger passed, and as the evacuation continued, Sarah noticed a change in the Zephyrians' attitude. The telepathic emissions of amusement and condescension had vanished, replaced by confusion and a grudging respect. Hours later, with the crisis averted and repairs underway, Sarah stood before the Zephyrian leadership. Lumina, still looking somewhat unstable, addressed her. We owe you our gratitude, it communicated, the mental message tinged with humility. Your physical forms, which we dismissed as primitive, proved to be an asset in this crisis, and your willingness to aid us, despite our previous interactions, speaks to a strength of character we had not anticipated. Sarah nodded, accepting the thanks with grace. We may not be as technologically advanced as you, she said, but humanity has other strengths. We've survived and thrived in a challenging universe by being adaptable, resilient, and by working together in times of crisis. Luminous form shimmered in what Sarah interpreted as thoughtful consideration. Perhaps, it communicated, we have been too hasty in our judgment. There is clearly much about humans that we do not understand. As Sarah and her team prepared to return to the horizon, she felt a sense of cautious optimism. The Zephyrians' previous mockery had been replaced by curiosity and a newfound respect. It wasn't the first contact scenario she had imagined, but it was a start. Little did Sarah know that this incident was just the beginning. The true test of humanity's worth in the galactic community was yet to come, and it would challenge everything both humans and Zephyrians thought they knew about themselves and each other. The joint mission. In the weeks following the incident on the Zephyrian ship, an uneasy alliance formed between humans and Zephyrians. The aliens' initial mockery had been tempered by grudging respect, but true understanding remained elusive. It was in this atmosphere of tentative cooperation that an unprecedented opportunity arose. Captain Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display in the Horizon's conference room. Her crew and a contingent of Zephyrian representatives gathered around her. The image showed a planet unlike any they had ever seen, a roiling mass of storms and gravitational distortions. This, Sarah explained, is Titan 9. It's a super-Earth-class planet with gravity approximately 3 times that of Earth. Our long-range scans have detected unusual energy signatures that could revolutionize our understanding of physics. Lumina, the Zephyrian liaison, rippled with interest. Such discoveries could advance even our civilization, it communicated. But the gravitational forces would crush any conventional probe we send. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. That's where we come in. Humans have been adapting to high-gravity environments for generations. We've developed exosuits that can withstand up to 5 Gs for extended periods. The Zephyrians' surprise was palpable. They had dismissed human physiology as weak, never considering that it might be uniquely suited for certain environments. We propose a joint mission, Sarah continued. Our team will handle surface operations, while your advanced ships provide transportation and orbital support. After much debate and negotiation, the mission was approved. A team was assembled. Captain Sarah Chen would lead, with Lieutenant Jackson as security chief, Dr. Emily Sato as science officer, and a new addition, Chief Engineer Malik Edinuga, whose expertise in the exosuits would be crucial. The Zephyrians assigned a small crew, including Lumina, to pilot their ship and provide technical support. As they approached Titan IX, the true scale of the challenge became apparent. The planet's gravity created tidal forces that threatened to tear their ship apart. The Zephyrian vessel, for all its advanced technology, struggled to maintain a stable orbit. Our gravitic compensators are at maximum, Lumina communicated, its usual confidence wavering. We cannot approach any closer without risking structural failure. Sarah exchanged glances with her team. They were suited up in their exoskeletons, ready for drop. We'll take it from here, she said. Prepare the drop pod. The descent to Titan IX's surface was harrowing. Even with the exosuits, the crushing gravity made every movement a battle. As they stepped onto the planet's surface, Sarah felt as though she were moving through thick syrup, each step requiring immense effort. Status check, she grunted into her comm. Operational, but it's like wrestling a kraken out here, Jackson replied, his usual bravado strained. Suit integrity holding, Malik reported. But we're burning through power faster than anticipated. We'll need to work quickly. Dr. Seto's voice crackled over the comm, filled with excitement despite the strain. Captain, these readings are off the charts. The energy signatures are like nothing we've ever seen. As they set up their equipment and began their analysis, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Here they were, on a planet that would crush their alien counterparts, doing what humans did best, adapting and pushing boundaries. Their progress, however, was not without challenges. The intense gravity played havoc with their equipment, and even simple tasks became Herculean efforts. Yet the team pressed on, their determination fueled by the potential of their discoveries. Hours into their mission, a new problem arose. The planet's volatile atmosphere had generated a massive storm system, one that threatened to overwhelm even their reinforced shelters. Captain, Lumina's voice came through, distorted by interference. Our sensors detect a severe atmospheric disturbance heading your way. You must abort the mission and return immediately. Sarah looked at her team, saw the mixture of exhaustion and determination on their faces. Negative, she replied. We're too close to a breakthrough. We need more time. You're primitive. Your suits cannot withstand such forces, Lumina argued, catching itself mid-insult. Watch us, Sarah muttered, switching to the team channel. All right, people, we've got a situation. Malik, what can we do to reinforce our position? The engineer's mind was already racing. If we reroute power from our non-essential systems and use the drop pod's shield generator, we might be able to create a localized force field. It won't be pretty, but it should hold. Do it, Sarah ordered. As Malik worked on the makeshift shelter, Jackson and Sarah secured their equipment, while Dr. Sato frantically compiled their data. The storm hit with a fury that seemed to shake the very core of the planet. Inside their hastily reinforced shelter, the team huddled, the exosuits straining against the increased gravitational fluctuations. Suit integrity at 60% and dropping, Malik reported, his voice tight with concentration as he worked to maintain their shelter. Data transfer at 75%, Sato added. We're going to lose some, but the core findings will make it through. Sarah gritted her teeth, feeling the enormous pressure threatening to crush them. Hold on, just a little longer, she encouraged her team. In orbit, the Zephyrians watched in astonishment. Their sensors, far more advanced than anything the humans possessed, gave them a clear view of the titanic forces battering the small human team. By all logic, the fragile beings should have been crushed instantly. Yet, impossibly, they endured. Fascinating. One Zephyrian scientist communicated to Lumina. Their physical adaptability is remarkable. Perhaps we underestimated the advantages of a solid form. Lumina, watching the human's life signs fluctuate but persist, felt an unfamiliar emotion, respect tinged with concern. Indeed, it replied. But at what cost? Surely they cannot sustain this for long. As if in answer to Lumina's concern, Sarah's voice crackled through the comm. Mission complete. Data secured. Requesting immediate extraction. The Zephyrians sprang into action, their ship diving lower than they had previously dared. Using a combination of tractor beams and precise maneuvering, they managed to lock onto the human's shelter and pull it free of Titan IX's monstrous grip. As the battered human team stumbled out of their pod and into the Zephyrian ship, they were met with a sight they never expected. The energy beings were arranged in a formation that radiated admiration and respect. Your tenacity is impressive, Lumina communicated, its mental voice carrying a new tone of genuine esteem. We would not have believed such feats possible for beings of your constitution. Sarah, her face pale and drawn from the ordeal, managed a weary smile. There's a lot about humans you have yet to learn, Lumina. We're full of surprises. As the Zephyrian ship sped away from Titan IX, carrying its cargo of exhausted humans and invaluable data, both species found themselves reevaluating their preconceptions. The humans had proven their worth in the face of overwhelming odds, demonstrating a resilience that astonished their alien counterparts. But their ordeal was far from over. The data they had risked their lives to obtain would soon present challenges that would test the newfound respect between humans and Zephyrians, and perhaps change the course of galactic history. Crisis on Titan IX. The journey back to Earth was filled with a mixture of triumph and trepidation. The human team, still recovering from their ordeal on Titan IX, worked tirelessly alongside their Zephyrian counterparts to analyze the data they had risked their lives to obtain. What they discovered would shake the foundations of both their civilizations. Dr. Emily Sato's eyes widened as she stared at the holographic display. This can't be right, she muttered, running the calculations again. Captain Sarah Chen looked up from her own work, concern etching her features. What is it, Emily? The scientist took a deep breath before addressing the mixed group of humans and Zephyrians. The energy signatures we detected on Titan IX. They're not natural. They're artificial. A ripple of surprise passed through the Zephyrians, their forms shimmering with agitation. Lumina moved forward, its energy pulsing with intensity. Impossible, it communicated. No known civilization possesses the technology to harness such forces. No known civilization. Lieutenant Jackson emphasized, his eyes narrowing. But what if there's an unknown player in the galaxy? The implications were staggering. If an unknown civilization had the capability to manipulate the fundamental forces of a planet like Titan IX, they could pose a threat unlike anything either humans or Zephyrians had ever encountered. As discussions and debates raged, a new problem emerged. The data from Titan IX wasn't just revelatory, it was dangerous. Several of the human scientists reported feeling ill, experiencing headaches and disorientation. Even some of the Zephyrians showed signs of instability in their energy patterns. It's the data itself, Dr. Sato realized with growing horror. Exposure to these energy patterns is having a physical effect on us. We need to quarantine it immediately. But it was too late. The ship's systems, both human and Zephyrian, had been exposed. Strange malfunctions began to occur. Gravity fluctuated wildly in different sections of the ship. Communication systems emitted bursts of incomprehensible noise. And worst of all, the ship's course began to alter, pulling them back towards Titan IX. We're caught in some kind of automated defense system, Chief Engineer Malik Edinuga reported, his fingers flying over the controls. It's like the planet doesn't want us to leave with what we've discovered. Captain Chen's mind raced. They were dealing with technology far beyond their understanding, trapped on a ship that was quickly becoming a death trap. She turned to Lumina, seeing her own concern reflected in the Zephyrian's fluctuating form. We need to work together, Sarah said firmly. Your advanced technology and our adaptability. It's the only way we're going to survive this. Lumina pulsed in agreement. Agreed. But how can we counter a force we barely understand? It was Dr. Sado who provided the spark of inspiration. We don't need to understand it fully. We just need to disrupt it. She pointed to the exosuits the humans had worn on Titan IX. These suits are designed to withstand extreme gravitational forces. If we can modify them to emit a counter-frequency to the energy patterns affecting our ships, we might be able to break free of whatever's pulling us back. Malik finished, already moving towards the suits. What followed was a frantic race against time. Humans and Zephyrians worked side by side, combining their knowledge and skills in ways they never had before. Malik and a team of Zephyrian engineers worked to modify the exosuits, while Dr. Sado and Lumina focused on isolating the harmful data and containing its effects. As they neared Titan IX once more, the ship groaned under the strain of the planet's gravity. Systems failed one by one, and it became clear that their modifications weren't enough to fully counter the mysterious force. "We need more power," Malik shouted over the din of alarms. Lumina's form pulsed with sudden determination. "We can provide it," it communicated, "but it will require us to temporarily abandon our energy forms and merge with your technology. It is not without risk to us." Sarah looked at the Zephyrian with newfound respect. "Are you sure?" "You risked your lives to obtain this data," Lumina replied. "We will risk ours to preserve it. And all of us." In a dazzling display of light and energy, the Zephyrians merged with the modified exosuits and ship systems. The resulting surge of power was unlike anything the humans had ever witnessed. Arcs of energy coursed through the ship, counteracting the pull of Titan IX and stabilizing their failing systems. For a moment, it seemed as though they had succeeded. The ship began to pull away from the planet's grasp. But then, a massive energy wave erupted from Titan IX's surface, dwarfing even their combined efforts. "Brace for impact," Sarah yelled, grabbing onto a nearby console. The wave hit with devastating force. Alarms blared as multiple hull breaches were detected. Emergency force fields flickered to life, barely containing the atmosphere. The Zephyrians, still merged with the ship's systems, screamed in a burst of telepathic agony that brought the humans to their knees. As the chaos subsided, Sarah looked around at her battered crew and their Zephyrian allies. The ship was crippled, drifting in space just beyond Titan IX's gravitational pull. The Zephyrians slowly extracted themselves from the ship's systems, their forms weak and unstable. "Status report," Sarah croaked, her voice hoarse. "Multiple systems down," Malik reported grimly. "Life support is functional but limited. We're running on emergency power." "The data?" Dr. Sado asked weakly. "Secured and isolated," Lumina communicated, its form flickering erratically. "But we are stranded. Our long-range communications are destroyed." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. They were alive, but trapped in an unknown region of space, with a mysterious and potentially hostile force on the planet below. Their ship was barely functioning, and they carried data that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy, if they could survive long enough to deliver it. Opening her eyes, Sarah looked at the mixed crew of humans and Zephyrians. Despite their differences, they had come together in the face of an overwhelming threat. Now they would need to rely on that newfound unity more than ever. "All right," she said, her voice gaining strength. "We're not out of this yet. Malik, I need options for repairs. Dr. Sado, work with Lumina to see if we can safely access any of that data. We need to know what we're dealing with. Lieutenant Jackson, organize search parties. We need to account for everyone and assess our supplies." As her crews sprang into action, Sarah turned to look out at the swirling storms of Titan IX. Whatever secrets the planet held, whatever force had attacked them, one thing was clear: the true test of humanity's worth, and the Zephyrians' ability to overcome their prejudices, was just beginning. The galaxy was changing, and they were at the heart of it. Stranded, damaged, but unbowed, the unlikely allies faced an uncertain future. But if their ordeal had taught them anything, it was that together, they were capable of overcoming seemingly impossible odds. As Titan IX loomed ominously in the viewscreen, Sarah Chen steeled herself for the challenges ahead. The next few days would determine not just their fate, but potentially the fate of their entire civilizations. The crisis on Titan IX was far from over. The tables turned. The damaged ship drifted in the shadow of Titan IX, a testament to the tenacity of its crew. Days had passed since their narrow escape, and the combined human and Zephyrian team worked tirelessly to repair their vessel and unravel the mysteries that had nearly destroyed them. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the makeshift command center, her eyes heavy from lack of sleep, but burning with determination. Around her, humans and Zephyrians moved in a coordinated dance of activity, their former prejudices forgotten in the face of their shared crisis. "Report," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying the weight of their situation. Chief Engineer Malik Edinuva stepped forward, his dark skin glistening with sweat from his work in the ship's damaged engine room. "We've managed to restore basic life support and minimal propulsion, Captain, but we're still running on emergency power. Any attempt to break orbit could tear the ship apart." Dr. Emily Sato joined them, her tablet displaying a dizzying array of data. "We've made some progress in decoding the Titan IX data," she said, her excitement barely contained. "It's incredible. The energy signatures we detected. They're not just artificial. They're a form of communication." Lumina, the Zephyrian liaison, pulsed with interest. "Communication? With whom?" "That's the thing," Emily replied, her eyes wide. "We don't think it's communication with an external entity. The planet itself seems to be alive, or at least controlled by some form of artificial intelligence far beyond our understanding." The revelation sent a ripple of astonishment through the gathered crew. Lieutenant Jackson, ever practical, voiced the question on everyone's mind. "So, we're stuck here with a potentially hostile, sentient planet. Great. What's our next move, Captain?" Sarah took a deep breath, weighing their options. "We need more information, and we need it fast. Our supplies won't last forever, and we can't risk another attack from the planet. I propose we send a small team back to the surface." The suggestion was met with a mix of disbelief and concern. Lumina's form flickered anxiously. "Captain Chen, with all due respect, the risk is too great. We barely escaped last time." "I understand the risk, Lumina," Sarah replied firmly. "But we're out of options. We need to establish communication with whatever intelligence is controlling Titan IX. It's our only chance of getting out of here alive, and potentially preventing a greater threat to both our civilizations." After much debate, a plan was formulated. A small team would descend to Titan IX's surface. Captain Chen, Dr. Sato, and Lieutenant Jackson from the human side, and Lumina and 2 other Zephyrians who had shown the most stability in their energy forms since the incident. As they prepared for the mission, Malik approached Sarah with a device in his hands. "Captain, we've modified one of our exosuits with Zephyrian technology. It should offer better protection against the planet's energy fields. But there's only one." Sarah nodded, understanding the implication. "I'll wear it. The rest of the team will have to rely on standard suits and Zephyrian shielding." The descent to Titan IX's surface was tense. The small shuttle shuddered against the planet's gravitational forces, its systems straining to compensate. As they touched down on the turbulent surface, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu. But this time, the stakes were even higher. "Remember," Sarah said as they disembarked, "our primary objective is to establish communication. We're not here to fight." They made their way across the rugged terrain, their sensors searching for the source of the energy signatures they had detected. The planet seemed to pulse beneath their feet, as if aware of their presence. Suddenly, Dr. Sato called out, "I'm picking up a massive energy spike. It's coming from that formation ahead. Before them loomed a structure unlike anything they had ever seen. It seemed to shift and change as they watched, its surface rippling like liquid metal. As they approached, tendrils of energy reached out towards them. "Hold your position," Sarah ordered, but it was too late. The energy tendrils enveloped them, and for a moment, Sarah feared they had walked into a trap. But instead of pain, she felt a strange sensation, as if her mind was expanding, connecting with something vast and ancient. Images and concepts flooded her consciousness. She saw the history of Titan IX, a world-sized machine created by a long-lost civilization. She understood its purpose: a repository of knowledge, a safeguard against cosmic threats, a beacon for advanced life in the galaxy. As the connection faded, Sarah gasped, falling to her knees. Around her, she saw her team similarly affected, even the Zephyrians looking disoriented. Did everyone see that?" Lieutenant Jackson asked, his voice shaky. "Luminous form pulsed rapidly. Not see. Experience. Understand. This planet, it was waiting for beings advanced enough to comprehend its purpose." Dr. Seto's eyes were wide with wonder. "It's a test. The energy attack, the data corruption. It was all designed to challenge us, to see if we were ready." As they discussed their shared vision, the structure before them began to change. A doorway appeared, inviting them inside. Sarah stood, her decision made. "We go in," she said firmly. Together. Inside, they found a chamber that defied the laws of physics as they understood them. At its center stood a holographic interface, displaying symbols and equations beyond their comprehension. Dr. Seto approached it cautiously. I think it wants us to solve something. A final test." What followed was a grueling mental challenge that pushed both humans and Zephyrians to their limits. Mathematical problems beyond current scientific understanding, ethical dilemmas that probed the depths of their philosophies, and strategic scenarios that tested their ability to cooperate. Hours passed, feeling like days. The team worked in perfect synergy, human intuition and creativity, complementing Zephyrian logic and advanced knowledge. They drew upon the strengths of both their cultures, finding solutions that neither could have achieved alone. As they input the final solution, the chamber filled with a soft, pulsing light. A voice, more felt than heard, resonated through their minds. "You have proven yourselves worthy," it said. "The knowledge of the ancients is now yours to steward. Use it wisely, for the challenges that lie ahead will test not just your civilizations, but the very fabric of the galaxy." The structure began to hum with power, and Sarah realized with a start that their ship in orbit was being repaired, its systems upgraded beyond their wildest dreams. As they prepared to leave Titan IX, now armed with knowledge that would propel both human and Zephyrian civilization forward by centuries, Sarah turned to Lumina. "I guess we surprise you again," she said with a small smile. Lumina's form shimmered with what Sarah now recognized as respect and affection. "Indeed, Captain Chen. It seems we have much to learn from each other. Perhaps this is the beginning of a true partnership between our peoples." As their ship, now more advanced than anything in known space, broke orbit from Titan IX, Sarah looked at her mixed crew of humans and Zephyrians. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril, but one thing was clear: they would face it together, as equals. The tables had turned. Humanity had proven its worth not just to the Zephyrians, but to the galaxy itself. And in doing so, they had opened the door to a future brighter than any could have imagined. But as they set a course for home, none of them could shake the feeling that their greatest challenges and greatest adventures still lay ahead. A new galactic order. The return journey to Earth was nothing short of miraculous. The ship, now integrated with technology from Titan IX, moved through space with an ease that belied the laws of physics as they had previously understood them. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, watching stars streak by at impossible speeds, her mind still reeling from the events of the past few weeks. ETA to Earth, 5 minutes, Lieutenant Jackson announced, his voice a mixture of awe and disbelief. Dr. Emily Sato looked up from her console, where she had been poring over the vast database they had acquired. Sarah, we need to be prepared. The knowledge we're bringing back, it's going to change everything. Lumina, who had chosen to remain with the human crew for the journey home, pulsed in agreement. Indeed, our civilizations stand on the brink of a new era. The question is, are we ready for it? As they approached Earth, they were met not with the welcome they had expected, but with a scene of chaos. The planet was surrounded by a fleet of ships, some human, some Zephyrian, and others of unknown origin. Multiple hails coming in, Jackson reported, his hands flying over the controls. It seems our little adventure didn't go unnoticed. Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. Open a channel to all ships. As her image was broadcast across the assembled fleet, Sarah felt the weight of history on her shoulders. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Ship Horizon. We come in peace, bearing knowledge that will change the course of galactic history. I request an immediate council with the leaders of all assembled species. The next few hours were a whirlwind of diplomacy, explanation, and barely contained excitement. In a hastily assembled space station, representatives from a dozen species gathered to hear the tale of Titan IX and glimpse the knowledge that had been bestowed upon the unlikely human-Zephyrian alliance. As Sarah concluded her report, a hush fell over the assembled aliens. It was broken by the Arcturian ambassador, a being of pure light. "This changes everything," it said, its voice resonating through the chamber. "The balance of power in the galaxy has shifted." Murmurs of agreement and concern rippled through the gathering. Sarah exchanged glances with Lumina, sensing the tension in the room. "With respect," Sarah said, her voice firm, "this isn't about power. The knowledge we've gained comes with a responsibility, a duty to prepare for challenges beyond our current understanding." Lumina moved forward, its energy form pulsing with conviction. "Captain Chen is correct. We were chosen not because of our individual strengths, but because of our ability to work together, to complement each other's abilities." The Zephyrian High Council representative, who had been watching the proceedings with growing interest, spoke up. "Perhaps this is the wake-up call our civilization needed. We had grown complacent in our perceived superiority. The humans have shown us that there is value in diversity, in different approaches to problem-solving." As discussions continued, it became clear that a new galactic order was forming. The human-Zephyrian alliance, bolstered by the knowledge from Titan IX, was at its center. But it wasn't a centralization of power. Instead, it was a call for cooperation on a scale never before seen in the galaxy. In the months that followed, changes swept across known space. The technology from Titan IX was carefully disseminated, with safeguards put in place to prevent its misuse. Joint research projects sprung up between species that had previously been at odds. The concept of unified galactic governance, once thought impossible, began to take shape. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. As Sarah had predicted, new challenges arose. The knowledge from Titan IX hinted at threats lurking in the dark spaces between galaxies, cosmic horrors that would require the combined efforts of all sentient species to confront. 1 year after their return from Titan IX, Sarah found herself once again on a ship bridge, but this time as Admiral of Earth's first truly intergalactic vessel. Beside her stood Lumina, now the Zephyrian ambassador to the newly formed Galactic Council. "Are you ready for this?" Lumina asked, its energy form shimmering with excitement. Sarah smiled, looking out at the assembled fleet of ships from a dozen different species. Each was unique in design and capability, a testament to the diversity that had become their greatest strength. "Ready as we'll ever be," she replied. "We've come a long way from you mocking our primitive technology, haven't we?" Lumina's form rippled in what Sarah now recognized as laughter. "Indeed we have, my friend. It seems humans had much to teach us after all." As the fleet prepared to embark on its mission, to establish the first extragalactic outpost and create an early warning system against cosmic threats. Sarah couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. From first contact and ridicule to crisis and cooperation, humans had proven their worth not through dominance or technological superiority, but through adaptability, resilience, and an unwavering spirit of exploration. They had shown that true strength lay not in individual power, but in the ability to unite diverse talents towards a common goal. The galaxy had changed, and humanity had been the catalyst. As they set course for the unknown, Sarah felt a sense of pride, not just in her own species, but in the coalition of civilizations they had helped forge. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. A united galaxy, stronger in their diversity, ready to write the next chapter in cosmic history. As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, Sarah gave the order that would echo across the stars. All ships, prepare for the greatest adventure yet. The next frontier awaits. And with that, humanity and its allies ventured into the unknown, no longer divided by their differences, but united in their shared destiny among the stars.